So I had seen this video that someone else did of this really cool drip art jewelry, and though I can't remember their name right off the top of my head right now, I will remember to tag them somewhere so that they can get some credit for the project that I'm about to try. I basically tried a few things. I tried to sketch it out on Procreate first, just so that I'd kind of have some guidelines to play with. And I made several adjustments before I finally decided to do anything. Which, by the way, if you don't want to just eyeball it, there is something called Unsplashed, which is an app that you can find lots of free-to-use, non-copyrighted images. I actually did not have as easy a time searching for drip art as I thought I was going to. I figured that wouldn't be something that was that hard to find, but I did eventually find some. And I kind of just plugged it into Procreate and played around until I got some shapes that I wanted. And then you know what happened after that? I was so lazy about wanting to boot up the printer that I ended up freehanding it anyway. So go figure. But this is an option. Doing it this way is an option. And then the next thing I did was I visited my local antique store of all places, because they have this really cool section where they have just jars of buttons and beads and pendants and glass and all kinds of stuff, and I just wanted something new to work with. These here that you see me working on and cutting out are my free-handed, hand-drawn little guides of the drip. We're going to need these because this time we don't have a mold. We cannot just conveniently pour resin into something. We're going to be free pouring it over this silicone mat I've laid down here. So if we're going to do that, I decided that I wanted some kind of guide. You don't need to have a guide like me necessarily, but I appreciated having some so that I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Be that as it may, I had never done this before, so I was making things up as I went along. I kind of spread some of this pink mica powder over it and then tried to see what would happen if I just cured it a little bit more. Now, one thing I did discover is that for whatever the reason, this UV resin does not separate from wax paper. I have no idea why it works that way. Regular resin separates from wax paper just fine. But I did not like the effect of putting it on top of the resin, and I realized that was probably not my best move either. So I decided that what I was going to do is I was going to try to do something different. The mica powder didn't really stick to that very well either, if I'm being perfectly honest. So we learned that mica powder does not stick to wax paper. UV resin does. So I tried to just focus not so much on the color, but getting down the shape and choosing things that I'd want to lay on top. I figured I could figure out pigmentation later. And I definitely liked this funky little flower, so I decided that what I was going to do is I was going to plunk that down in the corner. But first I wanted to brush it over a little bit more with some pink, try to see if I could get some of it to stick, because I figured that I would be putting several layers of stuff over this drip. And if this seems unorganized, I apologize. This is my first time doing that, so just bear with me, this is new. So we're just going to put that under the UV light for a little while so that we can get the flower part of it nice and cured onto there. I also want to say I like this new UV resin a lot better than the last one. It cures very fast and very solid. And I'll definitely be linking it in the description so that you guys, if you're shopping around for UV resin, I'll know which one to get. So to plop that down, we're basically just using resin like glue. And then we're using our UV lamp to get a quick cure. And I'm speeding up the curing process here because I don't know if you'll want to wait 3 minutes at a time watching footage of things just curing, but that really is the magic of UV resin. That's how quick it will work. And I think I've decided what I want to put right here, and we're going to put that little pearl. I'm already really liking the way that it looked. Like I like the way the shape came out on this paper very much. We're going to cure some more. And yep, that's very solidly on there. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Now I just have to figure out the placement of the other things. And I choose this. Let's see. The most challenging thing I'm going to have here is to get this stuff to not roll away. So I'm trying to move like really fast when I put something on here. Be kind of quick with the UV light. And there we go. It's on there. I don't think that's a pretty piece, but I don't think that fits with that. Ooh, this might work. This little plastic flower thing might work. Just kind of trying to plot this out to see how. Kind of just going to layer that bead on top right there first. And again, curing quickly as I go along because I want things to stay in their place. And there we are. Let's see, what else can I put on here that might look cool? That might look nice. Maybe? Not sure. Well, it's not like I don't have a whole jar of stuff to choose from. I might actually have too many choices. And I might be having some decision paralysis here. Also, one of the things I'm kind of struggling with there is keeping that wax paper very, very taut. I don't want it curling up. Let's add some glitter. I have a lot of nice sequency glitter. I think I'm just going to layer some on the top here. And then we can put a nice little coat of this over it, and that ought to add it some sparkle and shine. I get the feeling that this is going to drip in places that I don't plan for though, and I'm going to have some sanding to do before this is over. But I like the way that looks. So I let that cure for a little bit less than a minute, and we're going to see, yeah, that came out pretty solid, pretty smooth. You know, it's kind of crazy that this starts out looking like a big blob of like nothing. And then as you build it, it starts to make a lot more sense. This bead is trying to roll away. What am I going to do? I'm going to use that toothpick to keep the bead from rolling away. I actually got the toothpick inserted through the hole in the bead, and that is how I'm holding it in place. So if you're going to do this project and you have beads with holes, definitely get yourself some toothpicks. They're just awesome for anchoring them in place and not having them roll away. Just make sure you don't get any resin on the toothpick or in the hole, or you're just going to end up with a toothpick that's fused to a bead. And that worked like a charm. It is in place. I'm going to add a little bit more of this bright diamond dusty sequence because I really do like the effect that it's making. It looks really nice. I like that a lot. Try to get some on that corner and onto that edge there. Again, there's probably ample sanding I'm going to have to do when all is said and done. Definitely invest in a Dremel or a rotary tool of some sort if you're going to make these because there's always a chance that your resin's going to pour in a spot you don't want it to pour and escape from you. We don't have the structure or the boundaries of a mold keeping us safe this time. In many ways, that's made this one of the more unique projects I've taken on, but so far I really like it. Let's just rotate this now. I need to kind of see this from a different angle. Do I have everything I need? I want to kind of make sure that I get the resin around these corners here, because I want to make sure that it's also even thickness, but that everything that I've put on here has ample support, so it's not going to easily get knocked off. Not that I think this stuff is going to get easily knocked off, because this hard resin is like sturdier than super glue. And that's about done. There we go. All the glitter's hanging in there, nothing's moving. Good, good, good. I think I need to thicken the drips though. They're very thin and kind of brittle, and I want to make sure that they're not going to be weak little things that snap like twigs. All right, that came out smoother than I expected. I like that. Just kind of, you notice I have a hand with a glove and a hand that's just bare, because I do not have any dexterity whatsoever when I have gloves on, but I still need one hand that's working with the resin to be protected. And I wanted to add these kind of little blue hearts on top of here to give it a little bit of variation. There's many layers to this, and I would definitely plan this project on a day when you don't have much else going on. Because while it's relaxing and it's fun, it was a bit time consuming, and I don't know if that's going to hold out to be true every single time. It's probably a slow process, because this is literally the first one of these I've ever made. And yeah, we got a little bit of spillage there. I don't think we can completely avoid it, but I'm going to try to maneuver some back on there with my toothpick. And I think I want to plop that little flower down. All right. And that now is solidly on there. Kind of just admiring. Oh, that blue came out so nice against those other sparklies. This is starting to get fun. So I just kind of want to play around with one of these markers. I've seen other people use them. I just kind of want to see what it'll look like if I add a little bit of gold to this. If the more goldy, yellowy colors will look good with that at all. And I can also kind of outline the areas where I might want to do some sanding. It'll make them a lot more visible and a lot easier to see. And if I don't like this, it's not a big deal, because alcohol will take it right off. I just have to make sure I don't seal it over with resin if I don't like it. But so far I think I kind of like the way it looks. Now I might swab a little bit of it off, because I don't know if I want it fully solid like that. I might just want the outlines done, and that's just alcohol and a Q-tip. So see, it's very easy to edit and erase the parts you don't think are working. I'm just going to add a little bit here. This area is a little bit thin. Let's go ahead and seal that up. I'm definitely going to have some sanding to do. Oh well. Nature of the beast. Gotta get that resin in there. It looks like it all came out solid, safe to touch with a naked hand. Good, good. I'm just kind of turning it over, kind of feeling how, if those little drips are brittle or if they need more. And now I'm trying to see if there's some other areas I might want to fill with another little bauble, and I think there is. It's really funky looking jewelry. I like it. I like stuff like this. It's artsy and different. Also, these poor forgotten beads and stones and found things get to have a life other than a random object stuck in a jar. That's why there's something poetic to repurposing stuff like this that I really enjoy. Now, I had let that cure for a good 3 minutes because I wanted to make sure that it was going to be rock solid. And it was. It did come out pretty solid. But there are some legs that are curling up, and I don't like that. So I'm going to try something else. I just want to see if this will work. And you're probably thinking, oh no, why the heck are you breaking it? Well, the legs are curling up. I don't like that. I want to try it without the wax paper and just put it down directly on the silicone mat and see if we can't get an effect that's more flat. Now I've removed the faulty legs. Let's try this again. This time we're just going to do this drip. We're still going to have our little guide. It saddens me that we got rid of a bit of our gold, but that's okay. I could always edge it back on there if I want it. But having that stuff curl up just made it look really funky. It may not have shown up much on camera, but believe me, in real life you could tell. And if that's going to be someone's hair clip or something, I want it to be flat, not curling upward. And look at that. We have a new leg. That actually worked really well. And that worked a lot better than on that wax paper. So we're going to keep going with that until we have some new legs on this thing, some new drips that are not wonky and weird. And I do believe this new effort is going to be better. I don't think I'm going to use wax paper at all in the future. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. This is what I should have done from the start. I might actually invest in another silicone mat because this one's so useful. Just kind of tapping it with my Q-tip. So I'm kind of curious about how quickly this cures. It cures pretty quickly, actually. Mine runs for 3 minutes, but for a lot of these things, you don't really need the full 3 minutes. Now, I've pretty much added everything back onto here that needed to be added back onto here. I'm going to try to brush a little bit of these stray glitter pieces onto it. Maybe cure a few of them to these drips when I put another layer over them. And I'm just going to put this over this to seal this kind of pink and glitter in. And now we'll see what we got. Might need a little bit more here. Like I said, for this project, the only bad thing about it is that it can get a little bit repetitive. But I do want to reinforce these little legs, these little drips, give them some volume, give them some thickness and shape. Otherwise, we'll come out with a very brittle project, and we don't want that. So that looks like it cured well enough, and I think I'm going to put another one of those pearls on there. And I'm going to need to fix this leg. That needs a little bit of reinforcement. I really wish that the pink petals of that flower had not disintegrated when I went to sand it. When I sand things, I use water. Water is your best friend when you're sanding to keep dust from flying in the air. And the minute that water touched those petals, they basically disintegrated and bled. So while I was very upset, it might have been a blessing in disguise, because imagine that being someone's hair clip in the first time that rains. So as aggravating as that was, I'll have to choose something else to decorate the center of that flower. And now we've got the leg back in place. I think maybe, let's see, will it be possible? It looks like it might be possible to cover that up. But let's go ahead and do something about this flower first, since I've brought it up. I think that will look good. After I had thickened the lower drips, I decided the next thing I was going to do is put a little bit of resin to secure the back, make sure that it was all smooth and reinforced. Because while this resin is very strong, I think a little bit more to make sure that the project is reinforced is not a bad idea. And now while we cure that, we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves the little clip so that we can go ahead and make this into a proper hair barrette. So let's go ahead, slap some UV resin on there. Just one little line is all it should take. That should be plenty. Let's go ahead, put that on there. Pop that on there and cure it. And we're done. And I'm using one of my cosplay wigs here. That came out looking fabulous. Funny thing is, it actually looks great with that hair color. Oh, that is beautiful. Well, if you've stayed with me this long, please like and subscribe. It will help my small channel grow. I hope you've enjoyed this, because I certainly had a lot of fun making it. And I will see you in the next art story. Gorgeous. Bye for now.